Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, spending a little bit of your afternoon or morning or evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. We appreciate you spending a little bit of that time with us. We are really excited for today's presentation as we talk through monthly recurring giving and corporate matching gifts and how these types of programs and initiatives can help grow your overall fundraising and help build stronger donor relationships while you're at it. As you all continue to join us in the live room, I'd encourage you to use the chat, introduce yourself, maybe share where you're tuning in from or what organization that you're with. We'd love to hear from you and get to know where everyone is. I see we have someone tuning in from California. So like I said, in that good morning mood. As a note, while you all continue to introduce yourself, this presentation is being recorded, so you will have the presentation recording available to you after the fact. And you can also grab the slides from today's session in the handouts tab under apps. And we do have a little donation form checklist from Ronald and the For a Good Cause team in that handouts tab as well. So feel free to grab those resources as we move throughout the presentation. Now, as you all continue to introduce yourself, it's so nice to have you all here with us. We'll go ahead and kick off some more formal introductions ourselves. So my name is Grace. I'm a member of the Double the Donation Partnerships team. If you're not familiar with Double the Donation, we are the industry-leading automated matching gift and workplace giving software provider, helping organizations and institutions identify and take advantage of more workplace giving opportunities to grow their fundraising. And today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Ronald Pruitt of For a Good Cause, who has some great insights to share with us today. I'm really excited. Ronald, would you mind introducing yourself as well?
Sure, Grace. I'm really excited to be here. I'm Ronald Pruitt. I'm the president and founder of For a Good Cause. For the last 25 years plus, I've been helping nonprofits really try to make fundraising easier. Our platform, For a Good Cause, we specialize in helping small nonprofits grow their monthly giving program. And this is part of what we're going to talk about today, about that it's an easier way to fundraise, and especially if you combine that with corporate matching gifts. So I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ronald. We're so glad to have you here with us today, especially as we talk about monthly giving. I know you've got a lot of good tidbits to share there. So as I mentioned, I'm on the Double the Donation Partnerships team. And so that means I get to work with some of our partners like For a Good Cause here to help bring software solutions to organizations like yours, making it easier to raise more from workplace giving, and then also to bring you really valuable presentations like these. And so our teams work together in a variety of ways, including offering an effective integration to help you fundraise and keep matching gifts really streamlined, effective, and making sure no workplace giving opportunities slip through the cracks. So we are excited to partner, and we're excited to bring you this presentation today. Now, before we fully jump in, I'll give you a quick overview and a plan for our agenda today. Ronald will start us off with more insights on monthly and recurring giving, how that can fit into your overall fundraising strategy. And then we'll talk a little bit more about corporate matching gifts, the opportunity that's there, and then, of course, seeing how matching and monthly giving can coincide and what that looks like for your organization. And then lastly, we'll wrap up with some questions at the end. So, of course, feel free to send in any questions that you have throughout the presentation. We'll plan to get to those at the end, and we'll have some time to make sure you get all of your questions answered. And so without further ado, I will go ahead and hand it over to you, Ronald, to kick us off.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're going to talk about monthly giving and what it can kind of do for your nonprofit. So, and I really want to start by talking about the challenge that nonprofits face right now. This is not necessarily a great time to be running a nonprofit. There's a lot of headwinds out there for you. You, of course, are seeing a grant and government funding is being cut. It is shrinking. Of course, it's always something that's unpredictable for you. If you look at current donation trends, especially from things like the M&R benchmark study, you'll see that one-time donations are completely flat. People are still giving one-time gifts, but if you're looking for growth there, that is not a place you're going to find it. And worst of all, donor retention rates are at record lows. Most donors They give, but they just don't give again. In fact, 23% of online donors are the only percentage that are going to come back to you and give again. This just leads to a lot of stress on your staff. You are always out there searching for new support for your mission instead of focusing on donors and taking care of them and doing the things that you need to do to run your organization. So you've got a lot of headwinds there, but I'm happy to report that monthly giving can help solve some of those issues. Monthly giving is something that is actually growing. If we look at the same benchmark study, it's up 5% from 2023 to 2024. This is something that donors want. They want to give this way. They have been trained in the subscription economy by Netflix and Spotify and everything else that you probably give to. You could probably have 12 to 15 different subscriptions like I do. They've been trained that this is an easy way to buy, and this could be an easy way to give as well. You will find that you will raise more money if you embrace what we're talking about today. Donor retention is going to soar upwards of 90%. Over the lifetime of a monthly donor, they're giving over $7,600 on average. The current time frame that they typically give is over 8 years. That adds up to a lot of stable recurring revenue for your organization. And that means less stress. That means you can respond to emergencies. That means you can plan better. You raise more money and you get a lot more peace of mind when you embrace monthly donations. So how are we going to go out and get more monthly donors for your organization? I'm going to go over 5 things that if you put into practice, I think you're going to help bump that up. The first thing you're going to do is make monthly giving your main ask everywhere. Make it a thing in your organization. Adopt a recurring first mindset. What that means is whenever you are asking for a donation, no matter where that is, you're asking for a monthly donation first. A one-time gift becomes secondary. You can do that by defaulting your donation form to monthly, building a dedicated page on your website that specifically talks about the benefits and the impact of a monthly donation, spotlighting it on your homepage, highlighting in emails and social media. When you have your events, don't focus just on the ticket and sponsorship revenue, but have someone stand up and say, I'm a monthly giver and I want you to join me in this journey. Anywhere that you have a touch point with a donor that you're asking for a gift, make it a monthly gift ask first. Now you're emphasizing monthly donations, but what are you emphasizing? What is the offer that you're putting out to a donor to entice them to join your monthly giving program? It's got to be simple and it's got to be clear. Basically, you are telling the donor what impact they can make at different levels of giving. Like in this example here from Kids Work, a nonprofit in California, $10 a month will help fund classroom supplies, or $25 a month can help fund tutoring sessions. You are being clear about the impact that they can make, and you're inviting them into hopefully a named program. Name your monthly giving club so that it has a sense of community and they feel like this is something they are going to join. It has exclusivity. When you bring those two things together, community and a simple offer, they're going to be more likely to enroll and more likely to stay in your program. You want to combine that offer with some low-cost perks and recognition. You want a donor to feel special, thanked, appreciated, and recognized for that donation. Now, I'm not talking about spending a lot of money on swag, the expensive tote bag, anything like that. I'm talking about really low-cost perks. Most of the time, this is content and special access to something, a behind-the-scenes tour, a quarterly Zoom call, a special newsletter that goes out. If we look at the example here on screen, this is from the Michael J. Fox Foundation. They give away early access to content, exclusive reports, and then special invites to have conversations with leadership and provide their feedback. That doesn't cost them a lot of time or money, but it makes people feel more connected to the monthly giving, to the nonprofit. they're more inclined to stay. They're more inclined to recommend you to others. Now, there may be some people here in the audience today that are just getting started with monthly giving, or maybe they've stalled out at just a few monthly givers. You really want to begin your program with personal invitations. Look in your database, find your top 25 most dedicated supporters. It could be board members, it could be volunteers, it could be somebody that you ask a question, you ask for something, they always say yes. Have a personal conversation with them to invite them to become a monthly giver. They are going to become your founders. You are going to recognize them on that dedicated landing page that I mentioned before. You're going to get testimonials from them about why they give. That's going to power your marketing to go out and get people beyond 25, the 25 to 50, the 50 to 100 range. These people become your ambassadors to grow your program. And then the fifth thing that I want you to think about is use every opportunity to convert, retain, and upgrade your donors. You know, when someone gives a one-time donation to your organization, that's an opportunity for you. Best practice is to, within 3 months, you're following up with that one-time giver to invite them to go monthly with you. A welcome email series can work really, really well. Thank them for their gifts, show the impact that they're making, and then hit them with, hey, you can make a bigger impact if you go monthly with us. On the retention side, give donors their own portal where they can manage their gift. You have to stay on top of the card errors that are going to come with this to keep those cards processing every single month. And what most nonprofits don't think about is upgrades. You're going to grow your program by getting donors to give more every single month. You can hit them with a yearly campaign, send them an upgrade link that asks them to simply confirm a larger amount. So if you do these things, I think you'll start to see more monthly givers come into your organization. You'll raise more money. You'll get all the perks that I talked about before. And if you can combine this new steady support with corporate matching gifts, then you're going to be doubling the donations that I'm talking about here. So with that, I will pass it back to Grace to talk about that side of this.
Thank you, Ronald. I think that's a lot of helpful insight. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about how there really is a lot of overlap and a lot of similar strategy that you have when you're thinking about upgrading a one-time giver to a monthly giver, or upgrading and encouraging a one-time giver to get their gift matched. So similarly, in just thinking about the landscape, where we're at sort of in the space, thinking about corporate matching gifts specifically, because I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with like challenge matches or board member matches, but we're thinking about corporate matching gifts and workplace giving programs where a company is matching the charitable contributions of their employees. So these are likely your one-time givers, or maybe your monthly givers who have just joined that exclusive club at your organization. And so it's this type of philanthropy where we see individual donors able to take their gift a little bit further without having to reach back into their own pocket. And with the landscape, what we see at Double the Donation is that these programs are actually more widespread than some might think. Well over half of Fortune 500 companies are offering corporate matching gift programs as an incentive to their employees, and combining that with smaller and mid-sized companies offering these types of programs as well. In the United States alone, there are over 26 million individuals who are eligible for these types of programs, and a good chunk of them may already be giving to your organization. And so despite this prevalence, we still see organizations missing out on some of this funding. More likely than not, it's due to a lack of donor awareness or a lack of donor know-how. We see nearly $7 billion in corporate matching gift funds going unclaimed each year. And I say that unclaimed word with a lot of intention, because how much of a corporate matching gift program gets used may inform a company's philanthropy budget for the next fiscal year. And so these funds going unclaimed are really a disadvantage to everyone involved. Employees may lose access to a benefit they didn't even know they had. And then you as an organization may not be receiving these funds that you're already eligible for. Your donors don't know about though. So the average organization receives just over 1% of their individual giving revenue from corporate matching gifts. And with what we've talked about in terms of prevalence and availability, there's a lot of opportunity out there for organizations of all sizes, across verticals, across industries. There's a lot of opportunity. And so, like I mentioned, a lot of this stems from a lack of donor awareness or a lack of donor know-how. And it's because donors don't necessarily know whether or not their employer offers a matching gift program. While these are becoming more widespread, they're more regularly talked about, it's not something that's always super clear, or it may be on page 32 of the employee handbook and you're still on page 5 because that's talking about your health insurance. And so it's important to cut through some of that red tape and to get in front of donors to be aware of this opportunity and take advantage of it. Right now, we see that roughly under 10% of match eligible donors are actually going on to submit their matching gift requests. And again, that just comes to money that's being left on the table that you and your donors could be taking advantage of. So how do you change this at your organization? How do you ensure you're making the most of these programs? What do you as an organization need to consider when it comes to leveraging corporate matching gifts? And one of the best and most effective ways to do this is by asking donors directly where they work, prompting them to supply that information to your organization. Especially during the giving process, you can do this in a number of different ways and a number of different places, but especially as they give, they're already clued in and connected to your mission. It's a great time to present donors with a way to stretch their donation even further without having to reach back into their own wallet, like I mentioned before, especially as donors are being more conscientious about what they're giving their money to and how they're spending their money. This is a great way to kind of open up a larger opportunity for your organization as well as your donors. Adding a streamlined search tool to the giving process makes it easy to collect that donor data and inform or remind donors of the process. You can provide helpful context like you see on the screen here, and again, cut through some of that red tape or confusion that might be limiting donors from taking the next step. As your organization looks to increase potential capacity for giving or potential gift size, especially in times where the economy may be a little bit more certain or donors may be more conscientious of how they're spending, like I mentioned, this is a great way to do that by really expanding the ways they're able to give. And so a sleek, streamlined field like what's available through the Double the Donation and For a Good Cause integration allows donors to effectively provide that information while still efficiently completing their donation and having that funding ending up to your organization. Now, the nice thing about asking for information during the donation process is it actually sets you up really well to then provide next steps for donors after they've completed the donation. You can leverage your existing confirmation or thank you page to prompt a donor's next action. So for example, if I'm giving and I tell you that I work for Double the Donation as I'm moving through that process, then on the next page or my thank you screen, you're really well equipped to let me know what my next action should be or where I should go from there. And making things really personalized and actionable increases the likelihood that the donor actually goes that extra mile to submit the request and your organization receives those funds. Like I said, very similar to what Ronald was mentioning with monthly giving, of making it very clear and actionable, a simple next step to take that opportunity to become a monthly giver or submit your matching gift makes it that much easier and increases the likelihood that a donor actually does it. And then, of course, beyond just the initial donation experience, you can also use matching gift emails as a touch point with donors throughout the year. Sending follow-up emails after the initial gift can be really helpful in targeting from the gift they just gave. Again, if I tell you I work at Double the Donation, I just gave $25, you can encourage me to take the next steps to get my gift match. But let's say that I gave 6 months ago or 3 months ago or in January, whenever this was, it's still another opportunity to follow up and check in and say, hey, you gave this gift or you recently contributed to our organization. It looks like you might be eligible for a matching gift. This is how you kick that process off. Again, remembering that emails should be personalized and actionable, making those next steps clear and simple and very action oriented. You could even include stats or metrics tied to your experience with matching gift revenue, similar to what Ronald mentioned on having a clear sort of value delineation of $10 a month does this, or $25 a month does this. Then a matched $100 donation could turn into $200 to feed a family of 4, or whatever your mission and associated actions would look like. There's a lot of opportunity in getting a donor to understand the impact of their matching gift. And the other great thing about using matching gift emails as a touch point, separate from maybe your typical receipting emails or a welcome email that you're sending, matching gift specific emails actually have a really great open rate. We see at Double the Donation an average open rate of about 53%, which is 2 times the industry average. And so there's a great way to connect with your donors, to cut through some of that red tape, and also be able to steward that relationship without having to have another monetary next ask immediately following a donation. Now, with some of these tips, including the search tool in your donation form and next steps on your confirmation page and sending these follow-up emails, your organization can start to minimize that awareness gap that we mentioned and bring in that additional funding, with also demonstrating to donors that you're really good stewards of their funds and wanting to make the most of the contribution that they've made. And so with all of this talk of monthly giving and matching and what that looks like, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up how these two initiatives go together. And recurring gifts can be eligible for matching gifts. It's, again, just a matter of making sure that your supporters are aware and taking advantage of these programs. And the good news is that oftentimes your monthly givers are your most loyal, invested, tuned in supporters, which makes them all the more likely to go the extra mile to secure a matching gift. So when it comes to monthly givers and matching gifts, there's 2 main ways that we typically see recurring gifts submitted to companies for approval for matching. One of these is to submit a match request every single time you make a recurring gift. So let's say a donor donates every month on the 15th. They can go in and request their match on the 16th, and it's entirely acceptable. It'll work for donors, assuming that their recurring gift meets all of the parameters of that matching program. However, the other option, and what we often recommend just for convenience and logistical ease, is for donors to submit a batched matching gift request at the end of the year, representative of all of their contributions from when they started their monthly gift that year to the end of the year when their program might close. For more context, matching gift programs oftentimes have a deadline timed around the end of the calendar year. So typically December 31st, some programs will have a little bit of a buffer looking maybe into the month of January. But if you have a monthly giver who starts in January and gives through December, they have a great opportunity to take all of those gifts, combine them for one simple matching gift process that your organization can be on the receiving end of. Now, taking a quick look at this in action. So if John, who works at Apple, he gives $10 a month, he now says, yes, I am a loyal monthly giver. I'm going to give my $10 a month, but I work at Apple where my minimum threshold or the minimum amount I have to give for a match to be eligible is $15, then John's individual gift may not meet that eligible threshold. So he wouldn't be able to take the approach of requesting that match every single month. But if John, the donor, batches those monthly gifts all together for $120 over the year, then he can submit that $120 match request and be well over that minimum threshold. And now you get a bonus $120 donation from Apple based on John's generous monthly contributions. And so there's a lot of opportunity here, a lot of giving potential, and there are just cutting through some of that red tape, and you're reminding your donors about these opportunities. Ronald, is there anything that you wanted to add there?
Well, I have a question for you. I'm thinking about this, and I'm curious, just in your background, what are corporations looking for? Let's say John is making this monthly gift. What is he typically submitting to Apple to get this approved and to make sure that it goes through the process? I assume it's very important that the nonprofit is making sure that John gets a receipt every month, that he has a donor portal that'll show him proof that he's made these donations, or an annual statement, that kind of thing, that gives him the proof to be able to go and make this happen at Apple, so that the money comes to the nonprofit.
You're exactly right. And while there is some variation from company to company in what they might require or their preferred method of receiving any given proof or receipting, what an organization is really going to want to do is make sure they have really clear and effective bookkeeping for their monthly donors, so that they can see each of those installments and be able to compile, yes, here are either a confirmation number, a receipt number, something like that, that they would then turn around and give to their company. So you're exactly right on that front.
Yeah. And I love the power of this, because even this example, if John is the average monthly giver and he's going to give for 8 years, that's $120 a year. And hopefully the nonprofit is getting John to upgrade as we go along. So he might start at $10 a month, but by year 3, year 4, maybe he's at $15 or $20 a month. I mean, you can grow both sides of this together in a very clear fashion. I'm curious about one thing that I've seen when I'm showing how double the donation works on For a Good Cause. I'm in a sales call. I'm just talking to a nonprofit about how it works. One of the things I get asked all the time is, can you look up and see if X corporation is in the database? And they're thinking about those big corporations that are in their area. I might be talking to a nonprofit from St. Louis and know who's in this area, or here in Atlanta. Oh, is Coke in there? Is Home Depot in there? And I'm just curious about the kinds of research and what you guys do to fill that database with the opportunities for nonprofits.
Absolutely. We have got a pretty robust database team who is working every single day to make sure that the information in our database is as up to date and as accurate as possible. So we're using a variety of different sources to pull that information, whether that is company information itself, directly from employees or HR departments, or from nonprofits who have very close relationships with companies in their community. So we're working with quite a wide variety of sources to really compile that information and make sure it's valuable.
It's awesome. That's awesome. I just see these things going together so well. Before I forget, I'm going to drop into the chat here. I'm going to drop some extra monthly giving resources from us. We have tons of guides on, starting and growing a monthly giving program. So that link is in there for everybody as well. And I hope that you will download the handout that I have from that section as well. It's a little checklist for your donation page to see not only are you optimized for monthly giving, but are you optimized across the board? So hopefully take advantage of that, and always happy to answer questions. So.
Absolutely. And as we take our last couple of minutes here, we have a couple of questions. And one thing for you, Ronald, that we had a question in the chat is, what about the risk of potentially losing monthly donors if they have set up a monthly donation, but they forgot about it, and an organization may be worried that if they prompt them for an increase, that they'll remember their gift and want to cancel it?
Yeah, it's a big myth in monthly giving, that monthly giving is set it and forget it, that you want the donor to forget. That is never the case. There are apps on the marketplace now, like Rocket Money and some other ones, that they can see all their subscriptions. And if they haven't heard from your nonprofit about how their gift is making a difference every single month, and are not getting thank yous, they're not getting recognition, they're not getting invited to community events and Zoom calls and things that make them feel really good about their giving, they're going to cancel anyway. So you have to have constant communication with them. Again, it doesn't have to cost you a lot. It doesn't have to be anything really complicated. You could even change the header in your normal newsletter to just recognize that single person as a monthly giver and the impact that they're making as a monthly giver. And then they might get all the same content that everybody else gets. But you have to be doing something that's just for them to make them feel special and recognized. If you're doing that all along, when you reach out once a year for that upgrade, they're going to be more inclined to do that. They're going to be more inclined just to keep that going. And then as you make that upgrade, you are giving a pitch on you're making a difference currently. And maybe you're, like you say, you're feeding 2 families, but if you go to this next level with us, you could feed 4 families. So you are talking about the impact that they can make. If you have been doing the care and feeding and the retention work, which if you go to the resources link that I have, there's one post about retention, and I have like a 15-minute video on everything that you need to be doing to retain your monthly givers. When you do that, they will be more inclined to do an upgrade with you.
Absolutely. I think, again, a similarity between monthly giving and corporate matching gifts is that these donors are going a little bit of an extra mile. They are more than just your average, hey, I found your website, I gave $20 one time, and then I never thought about it again. These people are taking the extra mile. They are invested in your organization and your mission. And so making sure to steward them accordingly and honor that commitment and their connection is going to be that much more helpful in keeping them going forward. And then hopefully if they potentially leave companies or they change jobs, now they're at their next company banging on the HR department's door saying, hey, why don't we have a matching gift program? I want to get my gift matched to all of these organizations that I care about so much.
Yeah, and as we saw with the retention rates with a monthly giver can be upwards of 90%. For just normally it's in the 40s percentiles. And it is much easier to steward an automatic monthly giver who's just giving automatically off their cards. Easier to steward that person and keep them than to go back to a one-time donor that you got, 6 to 8 months ago that you haven't had a ton of communication with and ask them to give again. Another one-time gift is just easier. This monthly giving is an easier way to fundraise when you add the matching into that. Especially when it's automated in the ways that Double the Donation can do. It just works well together and you'll raise more money overall. So.
Awesome. Well, I know we are just a minute or two over time, so I want to make sure that we wrap this up. If you have any follow-up questions or you'd like to talk more about monthly giving, matching, anything that we've talked about today, feel free to reach out to our team at Double the Donation or Ronald and the For a Good Cause team. We'll be happy to get you connected if you come back and miss the contact information on the screen. So we really appreciate you spending some of your time with us here today. We hope this was helpful, and we hope to see you at future presentations. One last note before we wrap up, if you liked a lot of what we talked about today and you want to know more about workplace giving, feel free to join Double the Donation's virtual workplace giving summit this October, totally free and all online. We'd love to see you there and to learn a little bit more from your nonprofit peers. So thank you, Ronald, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for logging on as well or tuning into the recording if that's you. And we hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate being here and appreciate what you do.